I gotta readjust all the windows because I forget my beautiful short wife has driven this car last. Today is Tuesday, sorry, which is exactly 1 month until this experiment ends. 1 month left. Crazy. And it's just, oh dude. And by this experiment, by the way, I mean my 20s. You know, the video project was the final 10%, but reality is my 20s end. Sorry, I hurt you. In a month. Yeah, it's really got me reflecting. Like, so a decade ago, I had started my tech journey. You know, what year are we? 2026. So I'd done I wrapped up high school. I'm gonna tell you something that not many people know, and I don't really think I've put in a public place before, but here we go. Why not? When I graduated school in 2013, but I didn't pass. I was a smart kid. I was a really smart kid, and I smashed any goal that I decided that I wanted to achieve. And up till grade 10, one of those goals was that I wanted to be an academic. I wanted to, really push my grades. And sure, I wasn't super studious, but I was intelligent, and I leaned on that sort of natural intelligence for longer than I should have. And then, like top of the class, I'm talking top of the class for some classes in grade 10, without trying. Then 11 and 12 came, things started to get a bit more intense. That was around the time that it was a couple of years after my parents had split, but things were getting rather vicious, rather nasty by that point, and I just stopped caring. I remember in that sort of period, I had a girlfriend that I thought I was quite serious with back in the day. And, I remember making decisions based on a long-term goal for that relationship and that family and that life that I thought that I was going to create. I thought my goal, I vividly remember, and I probably can go back and find conversations somewhere with her, with various people that state, I'm going to go to uni, I'm going to do something great, it's going to be in the tech world, and I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. That was my goal. And that was back when a millionaire was a lot harder to do, But that was kind of the goal. I remember I skipped my year 12 formal, the celebration, the prom as the Americans call it, because I would rather work and earn money. I figured, I'm not interested in going. I think I was the only one that didn't go, but I just wasn't interested in, spending a lot of money to look fancy for a night and eat food and dance with people that I just spent the last 12 years with, and I hadn't really made any super deep friendships at the time in that grade. And so I decided, that was in 2013, that I was going to work really hard, but not on academics anymore. And so to do that, I kind of had a gap year away from any sort of education. I decided, I was going to pursue graphic design because I really loved the process of developing apps and designing apps. I wasn't very good at developing at all at that point. But I loved designing them. I loved focusing on, UI and human design elements and all these different things. So I decided I'd take an online graphic design course and just keep working as much as I possibly could. And then in the end of 2014, so towards the end of my gap year, I was like, I've got to do something, So I had a bit of a look around. I found a traineeship at a high school in the IT space. I was like, oh yeah, why not? That kind of aligns with what I wanted to do. So I did that for a year and a bit. I extended actually the I was supposed to finish the studies at the end of 2014, and therefore the traineeship, but I enjoyed being there. I had some really good colleagues, a really good mentor there, and decided that I was going to stick it out and do more. And that was until early 2015, where, I'd been kicked out of my mother's house, and I was living with Dad at the time, and Dad was quite a distance away, so it was a long way to drive. And I found literally around the corner from Dad's, they were looking for an IT manager of a small business. I was like, done, that's me. It was a 10-minute drive as opposed to a 50-minute drive. So that's what I decided to do. I thought, this is going to be great. This is everything that I want to do and everywhere that I want to do it, which is near home. So I did that. And it was at that workplace that I got introduced to Salesforce, which has defined my career ever since for the last decade. Hold that thought. I'm just going to pull in somewhere real quick. I'm back. So yeah, that was when I come across Salesforce for the first time, which defined my career since then. But it's been a decade now. I've achieved a lot. I wanted to prove that just because you fail high school doesn't mean it's over. Just because you don't go to university doesn't mean it's over. You know what I mean? Like I decided to prove to myself and to others. What are these fools doing? That there are a million ways to create value and do good and to be successful. This is what I wanted to prove, and I feel like I've proved that to a degree. I've helped people into my industry. I had a friend that was struggling, couldn't get a job. So I onboarded, I took a lot of risk, taught him up and gave him a bit of experience in employment, and then we no longer speak because he's decided he knows a lot more than I do, but that's okay. Anyway. I'm tired of putting up a facade that everything is okay. Because it's been a decade since I've been doing this, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I've got to change something, and I've got to change it drastically. I remember when I started out in the Salesforce space, there was one learning resource that helped me massively. I bought some practice questions from them for exams to help me learn and to help me study. And I was like, one day it'd be cool to build something like that or work for somebody like that. And that's what I do today. That very same resource I now work with very closely. And I write for them and I create videos and webinars, and I love it. I really love it. I can't believe that I, have so meticulously constructed my career in the way that I wanted and actually pulled it off. Wild. But here I am after a decade, having achieved everything that I wanted to in this space, and also happening to be at the end of, my third decade of life, and I'm just looking and going, what comes next? I'm the kind of person, I can't sit still. I've got to be pushing for more, for higher. And we're in a very exciting era. We've got AI and all this, but is that really what I want to do? And I'm trying to think more purposeful. I'm trying to think something that's going to outlive me and grow way beyond what my life. Because so far, a lot of what I write in such a way with the intent to help people on their careers, and in the past I've built courses to help people upskill and all this, but I really want to have a much, much greater impact. So that's why I know that one of the big goals that I have for the next decade is to establish. There's a project that I've started working on. It's a project called Beryl's Bibles, and it's basically what its intent is to give every child in Vanuatu their own personal Bible in the local Bislama language by their 10th birthday. Because I think it's really important that everybody has access to the Word of God, to the Gospel, so that they can read and they can understand and they can build a relationship with Jesus. I think that's so critical. So I've started doing some work there. Another thing over there, as part of Beryl's Bibles, actually, is there's quite a significant literacy, reading and writing gap. So having having a Bible is one thing, but if you can't read it, well, what's the point? So I'd like to help educate and provide opportunity for those kids to read and write, and for adults that can't read and write to read and write. So that's something I would like to achieve in the next 10 years, is to really get that off the ground. I need to come up with some more measurable goals there, but that's one thing. The other thing, I've been trying to think, what has been holding me back in life? Not just in my career, in life. And there's one thing that I can think of that has impacted every single aspect of my life. Every single aspect of my life. It killed me once. It literally killed me once. I was telling you the story, I think, on the most recent Sabbath video, about how when I was 10 months old, my mother gave me a bite of a peanut butter and banana sandwich. And, after being, resuscitated by the doctor a week later or whatever it was, she said, yeah, when you handed him to me, he was dead. So my peanut allergy has been so debilitating for my life. I have to carry an EpiPen, which, okay, cool, we've got EpiPens, that's great. In an emergency, that will slow down my decay, my downfall. But there's got to be something else. There's got to be a better way. I can't, not just me. I know for a fact that food allergies, like I keep hearing stories about people who, you hear kids at camp go, oh, I'm sure he can't be that allergic to a peanut. And, I've heard awful stories where kids will bully allergy kids and feed them peanuts and they will die. It's not okay. Give me a sec. And so that's another thing that I want to be able to, you ready? He's crazy. He's lost it. I did kind of lose it. I kind of had an episode over the last weekend. You may have noticed by my slightly more manic than normal behavior. But, how far do I go into this? I had a realization. I've always been intense. I've always been the kind to push myself, to push other people, to just not accept normality. It's not who I am. Like I said, I wanted to prove in the last decade that you don't have to follow the normal path. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to, follow all these paths that we're told are the normal paths. And if you fail high school, you're not screwed. And so I did that and I proved that. I like to live as though the rules aren't rules, as though things don't actually have to be the way that they are, because they don't. That's the reality. I mean, look where we live. This is, like, we are so lucky to be living here. It's so not normal to be this far out of the city based on what we grew up with, right? But that's kind of the point. It's like, just because somebody says, oh, you should be close to the city, there's jobs, there's this, there's that. And it's like, well, okay, these are just challenges. These are ways to challenge the system. But you don't have to do things just because the world tells you have to do it. Just because the world tells you it is a certain way, it doesn't mean it has to be that way. It just means that's the way it's been up to now. And the same goes for my peanut allergy. I've been told I need to carry an EpiPen. I need to avoid peanuts like the plague. There's no cure. There's definitely no cure for adults. There's no treatment for adults. They've got immunotherapy for children that they're finding to be quite effective, but they don't try it for adults because adults' immune systems are developed and all these things. And I can't accept that anymore. I was thinking about it the other night. I wasn't sleeping. I haven't slept very well. And I was thinking, what is something that I could do that would actually be, if I could pull it off, would be life-changing, not just for me, but for anybody else. And if I could find a cure, if I could eliminate food allergy, peanut allergy, anaphylaxis, if we could properly control anaphylaxis. I was at the vet a couple of months ago because we needed to get the dog. This is when Zia was unwell, I think. Yeah. We're at the vet and they were running a little bit late and they were running around frantically behind the scenes. I was like, oh, something's not right. And I overheard on a phone call. She says, hey, we've just done the surgery. The surgery went well, but unfortunately he's had an anaphylactic reaction to the sedation. He's under control. He's stable,
but we've just got to help him ride it out. And that was the day that I learned that animals could also have anaphylactic episodes. So it would be, if I could find a way, or if I could push the needle forward in terms of like research or progress in solving anaphylaxis, lives would be saved, lives would be changed, lifestyles would be completely different. Because of the way that I believe strongly, and this is something I'm going to learn a lot more about. I believe strongly that it's because of the way that the environment is changing, because of the way that we grow food en masse. You know, what do they say? It's factory farming. The chemicals that we're putting on things, it's changing up the food that we eat, and that's why we're seeing a surge of allergic reactions to food. We're seeing asthma, we're seeing chronic illness, we're seeing cancer, we're seeing all of these things just blow up across the world, particularly in built-up Western countries, you know, like Australia, the US, the UK. So, if it's number one is figuring out why it's happening and trying to find an alternative. But the other thing is, if it's happening, which it is, how can we solve it better than carry around an EpiPen, hope that it lasts long enough for emergency services to get to you? Because something a lot of people don't know about an EpiPen, it's not like, oh, you got a peanut attack, you know, take an EpiPen and, oh, thank goodness you're cured, because you're not. So I was told that I should carry, and some people are told this too, I'm okay to carry just one now, but I've had recommendations from doctors to carry multiple, because the severity of my reaction, basically I'm given times, right? When I was a kid, I was told, if you have peanuts, someone's car's getting broken into. If you have peanuts, you've got 2 minutes to, I mean, if it's a serious reaction, you've got 2 minutes to get an EpiPen in you, or you're gone. And if you do, you've got 10 minutes with one before you need another, or some other sort of treatment. Someone's beeping. So it's not a solution. It's a delay. Over time, if it doesn't, what's going on? I don't know if you can hear that. Basically, it's a race against the clock with severe anaphylaxis like I have. I've got minutes to get treatment, and that treatment lasts 4 minutes. And that treatment, EpiPens, are not expensive. I'm very, very, very lucky, and I'm very, very, very... What is going on? Either somebody's trying to break in somewhere, or, which doesn't make sense because the alarm keeps going and stopping, or somebody's working on a car and the alarm's triggering. Anyway, basically, I've got minutes to get treatment, and then minutes to get treatment again and again on repeat until my immune system calms down because it's handled or removed the protein or the reactant from my body. Crazy. I believe, and I'm not putting this to the test, don't worry, Hannah. Editing this, I know what you're thinking. I believe that my severity of the allergy has dropped a little bit over the years, I think. When I was a kid, I used to react a lot more quickly. I remember after Mum and Dad split, it would have been around end of high school, so 2012-ish, 2013. I was at Dad's and had a bit of muesli. And anyway, after eating it, I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. I don't feel great. And I was like, I'm just going to go and have a look at the muesli. And this was like, you know, freshly post-split or post-divorce dad who is trying to cut corners on food as best he can in terms of cost, which, fair enough. Muesli was cheap, and he bought home brand. And for some reason, they decided that in this muesli, which is normally made up of oats and bran and dried fruits maybe, they were going to put peanuts. Like half peanuts. So here's me like eating a bowl of muesli and just going, I'm not feeling super. And I looked in the ingredients and I was like, you're kidding. And I looked in the bowl and then started like seeing full half peanuts. I'm going, this is no longer just a trace that I've come in contact with. Like this is, I've eaten peanuts. I've eaten peanuts with an S. So anyway, I had to rush around and try and figure out what to do. And I didn't have a super severe reaction. I threw up. I forced myself to throw up to get them out of my system. But I didn't have a super severe reaction. I didn't need to use an EpiPen. Once I removed it from my stomach and had a Claritine, basically, an antihistamine, like a allergy medication, I was able to manage it and be totally fine, which I'm very, very lucky for. But I don't know for certain if that will always be the case. And I don't want to have to keep I love food. Obviously, look at me. And I love being adventurous with my cooking, but I hate going out to eat. Can't stand it. Which upsets Hannah, because she's very adventurous and she likes celebrating, and, you know, she comes from a family that likes to celebrate stuff. I'm not so much. It's not who I am. But part of that is because I grew up and there were certain things that were safe foods. So I grew up, whenever we had something out, it would be pizza from a local pizza shop or McDonald's. There was no, and this was, you know, based on when I was a kid. Mum and Dad went to a Thai place and peanuts everywhere, you know, and I was unwell at the table as a young child. Partially they weren't allowed back, but also they learnt that food could take our son away. Food could take me away. Something that's supposed to sustain you could in minutes remove me. It's not a way to live, man. So I've always had a bit of food anxiety. I'll eat the same things on repeat because it's easy, it's simple, and it's safe. I know what it is. I'll cook it myself. And I avoid danger where I can. I had to go on a work trip to America last year. I didn't eat. I was there for the better part of a week. I had McDonald's, I think, twice. And apart from that, I went down first day and I bought like 4 apples, 4 bananas, and that was what I ate for the entire time. I ate apples, bananas, and Macca's once or twice because I was getting quite hungry. I've just been told that I've got to go to the UK in November for another work trip. Number of reasons I'm not keen for that. But one of them is food. I like my compound. I like where I live. I like the safety of everything. And it's made me realize that I've created a safety bubble in life. I love remote working because I don't have to be in an office where other people can bring peanuts. I don't have to be, go to lunches at work where I could be exposed to an allergen, because that's where my brain focuses. So I need to aggressively rewire my brain for, safety and comfort is bad, because safety and comfort is going to slow me down and stop me from doing anything that I need to do. And I feel like I need to do this. I need to figure out how to solve anaphylaxis, or how to solve peanut allergies, how to cure it. They say it can't be done, which means that few people are trying. And if few people are trying, not much is ever going to happen. So, while I'm not a trained doctor, while I'm not a trained medical professional, while the last, official science and chemistry classes and biology classes that I did, I failed in high school because I wasn't paying attention, I have decided that the next major challenge for the next 10 years of my life is going to be focusing on curing anaphylaxis. As best I can with the resources that I have. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen. I'm also going to change the lifestyle that I have from one that is carefully curated and safe to one where I am under a lot of pressure at all times and danger is all around me, because I need to get out of this. I can control the situation, I can create safety, I can create comfort, because that's true sometimes, but not all the time. And if I'm prioritizing safety and comfort above solving problems and above mission doesn't get done. Mission gets deprioritized, and eventually people start calling it a dream, a dead dream, a pipe dream. So I need to live and breathe obsessively this goal, and I need to put my safety and I need to rewire my brain away from safety so that I can really push myself. That's why they say that most people go for jobs or employment, and as opposed to trying to build a business, because there's safety in employment. There's no risk. You go to work, you get paid, even if you do a bad job, even if you're not really productive, you get paid. Whereas as a business owner, you front the capital. You're the last person to get paid. You're the one that puts food on the table for other people, while not knowing necessarily if what you're doing will be alive enough, or still kicking for you to get paid at the end. There's risk, but the reward also is skewed to business owners as opposed to employees. Because if it works, if you can pull it off, you're the one that gets the reward. Which is then hilarious that people go, oh, how come, there's billionaires and rich people, they don't even do the work, they hire people. It's like, yes, idiot. But that's because you've got, anyway, it's a whole other discussion. So, I need to lean into risk like I never have before and lean away from safety. So, I'm going to start doing some things that are going to seem crazy, such as deciding that I'm going to cure something that medical professionals have called incurable. I'm going to start learning things my own way, forging my own pathways, not finding solutions, creating solutions. Because sometimes the solutions just don't exist. I'm going to stop living in the world that other people have created and start building my own. Where I make the rules, where I make the reality, where I create the outcome. Instead of being told what's possible, I'll show people what's possible and show them they were wrong about it. So what I've decided to do, don't freak out, this is for display purposes only. I've bought, that's why I was just down the shops, a jar of peanut butter, which I just learned, I don't know if you'll know this. See that? It's plastic. My whole life I thought peanut butter was in glass jars. Never knew, because I've never touched one before. Anyway, I'm going to keep this on my desk. Sealed, don't worry, still sealed, always will be. Until such time as I find a cure. And then this will be my weird, sadistic reward one day. Because I'll show it that while today it could kill me, one day I will kill it. And not just for me, but for everyone out there who has had their life upheaved, overturned by a food allergy. For those of us who live with them, it's uncomfortable. It's stressful. It fills us with anxiety and fear. It creates a lot of discomfort, a lot of inconvenience. It's a massive hindrance on being able to live truly and fully. For those of us who no longer live with them, it may have cost lives. It has definitely cost lives. from a food, from a good food. There's a lot of positives in peanuts too. So that's why I need to do it. Because if nobody else is going to, I will do it. So anyway, I've been tipped off the edge. The cracks have now become fully cracked. And I have decided that that's what I'm going to pull off. Even though it's impossible. So follow along over the next decade as I find a cure for peanut allergies, maybe anaphylaxis as a whole, and prove people wrong that it can be done and change many, many, many lives in the process. That's the intent. It's probably the end of the vlog. I might edit this one. Poor Hannah. Thank you for sticking by, if you have. If you haven't, you're missing out. This is the origin story. Bye.